Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. This is an Indiana Fever post-game video. Don't anyone panic, okay? Don't panic. Take a deep breath. Things are going to be okay. Well, they might be okay. And we'll get to why they might. But look, all young teams, all good, rapidly developing teams have growing pains. They all have setbacks. If you recognize and realize what the problems are in terms of what needs to be fixed, what needs to be improved, these are really, really important games. These are gut check games that allow you to see where you truly are. Because let's face it, the Fever were really, really hot. And I think when you see a team playing like that over a period of games, you start thinking that they're a lot better than they are. And the Fever are a lot better, but I don't think they're where a lot of people were starting to think or hope that they were. And these games expose what you need to do to get there because they are now 7-2 since the break. Both losses have come against the Minnesota Lynx, who are now 8-1 since the break. And you got to see the things the Fever don't do well, the things the Fever need to do in order to take the next step to go from making the playoffs to the chance to make some noise in the playoffs. If they adjust, that is the big question mark. And the reason I say it's a question mark is because while Christie Sides is getting Coach of the Month and people are talking about her for Coach of the Year, and I've seen people I know on Twitter apologizing for being negative toward her early in the season and hoping that she can forgive them and all this other stuff, I have not changed my opinion that Christie Sides is not the coach for this team, that she is not a good head coach. And look, because you've heard me do it a couple of times, I will, just like with any players, even if I don't like them, I will shout them out if they're doing something good, if they're doing something well. And she has deserved that here and there. But I've always stuck with the fact that the big things have not changed. And that is a real concern because I think that limits the top for this team. I think that puts a cap on where they can go. Now, that being said, and right before we get into it, I got to say this. There is no way you will never, ever convince me that these officials were hired because they are qualified to officiate professional basketball games. I would not let them officiate fifth graders playing in a rec league. That is how bad these officials were tonight. I mean, the WNBA is bad, but these were extra, extra bad. It was absolutely ridiculous. It's unacceptable. You cannot have this level of officiating and call yourself a professional sports organization. Just can't happen. To that point, another issue with sides. Again, Boston it fell apart in the third. The Fever got frustrated, and it was visibly showing. So you had Sides did not defend her team. She never does. Boston gets a technical. Mitchell could have gotten a technical. I'm surprised Clark didn't get a technical. The coach should have gotten a technical. And when I say should have, I don't mean she did anything to deserve it. I mean she should have done something to deserve it. For any of you that have coached for a while, or like you, at least you've been around the game enough, kind of on the inside, close up, you will know good coaches at times will purposely get a technical at the right moment to try and change the momentum or to take away the fishbowl in which the officials are looking at the players now in hopes of keeping them from getting technicals. You will have coaches who will purposely, and I have done it, tell the official, hey, I'm coming at you. Can you please tee me up? But don't throw me out. So Anyway, I got two short clips I want to play for you from Sides. These are actually from before the Sparks game. Okay, so this was the last game. It was a game that they won. But I think that these two clips are really, really important, and they show what I mean about the changes that Christie Sides has not made, that everyone has sort of glossed over because the team has been winning, because Caitlin Clark has been improving so much, and that the players are starting to feed off of what Caitlin Clark does, that the issues that the team has no longer being talked about. Okay, so let's hear. She is first going to be asked about just the beginning of the game, what she thinks is important. And then I also want to play a clip when she's asked about Caitlin Clark. All right, they're both about, I don't know, 30, 35 seconds long.
All right, questions in the room for Coach. James, want to start?
Chrissy, obviously it's a win. I would imagine you want to perform better. So what do you take away from, finding a way to win, which matters the most, but also looking at some things that you have to improve on?
Yeah, no question. When I went in and told the players, like, I told them if we could get 50 points in the paint, we'd win the game. We ended up with, I think, 46. But we weren't doing that early. We were playing almost 5 out, and we just weren't getting the ball in the paint, which is what frees up our outside.
Okay. Wow. When I heard that, I almost did a separate video on this, but again, they're on a roll. They're 7-1. They just won this game. Caitlin Clark had a triple-double. I didn't want to be a downer, and I knew this had to show up when they started playing some top teams. So here we go. You just heard her. She's back to her fourth grade offense, this obsession with touches in the paint. I heard this and I thought, wait a minute. That doesn't sound anything like the game that I just watched. And what I mean by that is she said they didn't do it early. She said they did not get touches in the paint early. So you know what I did? I sacrificed myself for all of you. By the way, see, now I'm so worked up, I can't even remember if I did shout out to the 19 cousins or said hope you're having a fantastic day. So both of those, boom, they're done. Here we go. I went back. This game was in WNBA League Pass. I went back, folks, and I watched that really bad first quarter because if you remember, they were really sloppy. They had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. So I went back and I watched and I tracked every single possession of that first quarter. And you know what I found? Christie Sides is lying, or she wants to slow the game down to where they're literally playing in quicksand, and she thinks what they did was still too up-tempo, or she's that incompetent because they had 23 possessions. 8 of them were turnovers. That's horrific enough. A third of the possessions were turnovers. But that means there were 15 left. Of those 15, 12 of them had post-ups or layups. 12 of the 15, that's 80%. And Christie Sides just told you they didn't do it enough early on. And look, a lot of the successful ones, and when I say post-ups, layups, here's what I mean. The layup can come from anybody, right? So like there were some really nice drives by Mitchell and Clark that were layups, right? Points in the paint, those count. And of course, there were also post-ups, such as Melissa Smith or Aaliyah Boston back to basket, posting up, getting the ball tossed into them. There were 12 of 15. Now, part of the problem of that in the half court, which was also tonight, and when we get into some clips I'll show you, I'll reinforce that with what happened, is so much of the half court offense is simply reliant on the talent of Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell to make something happen. By the way, a number of the pure post-ups in that first quarter resulted in missed buckets or kickouts and also turnovers, which I'm not even counting as the 12 because they were part of the 8. So the problem wasn't that they didn't get enough post-ups or layups. The problem was the opposite. They didn't run enough. There wasn't enough tempo. They get good looks both in the paint and out. Those looks she's talking about outside, that happens with tempo. And they're not going to go anywhere in the playoffs with this offensive offense, this offensive fourth grade crap fest, it's not going to get it done. And I've got one more little clip here for you when the reporter asks her about Caitlin Clark and specifically even mentions just how well she's playing, but also mentions, don't forget, there was a triple-double by Caitlin Clark in this game, the second by a rookie in league history. Oh, and the other one was earlier this season by Caitlin Clark. And let's hear what Christie Sides has to say about her star.
Christine.
Yeah, Caitlin, obviously, with her second triple-double, she also was the first rookie to have over 100 three-pointers made tonight. Just do her accolades surprise you anymore, or just how do you react to them?
You know, she's been playing and doing things and just getting an understanding of the league. Every game she gets a little bit better. Every game she gets a little bit understanding of, the speed and the quickness. I don't think, we had some opportunities in the middle pick and roll with her and AB and her and Liz that I don't think we capitalized on it. And she and I talked about that for a minute.
Holy crap. Are you kidding me with that response? Does that not sound like the same Christie Sides at the beginning of the season who says she can't shoot those long threes like she does in college, who says she has to make a decision in half a second? By the way, have you noticed how long Caitlin Clark keeps her dribble alive sometimes in this game from the half court? As a little more than a half a second. Or, she has to start shooting the long two. This is the same Christie Sides. Her point guard just had an historic triple-double, fastest player to 100 threes, right? Set that record. And she's criticizing her. She's talking about how she's getting an understanding of the league and the speed, and she missed opportunities in the pick and roll. That is what comes to mind after she just had a triple freaking double, the second by a rookie in league history, both of them by Caitlin Clark. Remember what I said about growing pains and learning? The coach is not learning, folks. They are winning and they are playing well despite the coach. You understand what I'm saying? Despite the coach. Oh, now to reward you, we'll get to some clips. But I meant to show this right away, just because it's kind of funny. If you can read Caitlin Clark's lips, she had some of the same reaction to the officiating that I think all of us had. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to slow it down for you just a little bit. Just a little bit. That was actually pretty good right there. Yeah, that sounds about right, Caitlin. I kind of feel you on that one. But, okay. Now, she can only shoot threes, but let's see if this is the three. But also, I'm showing you these for another reason, too. Not just to show you some good plays, because they still did a lot of great things, but also for the fact that that's tough. That's tough right there. That is a really tough finish. But what did you notice? Then it was more of a slowdown, but Caitlin Clark didn't even let it get into any type of half-court offense. She just went to the bucket and created something herself. Now, again, sorry about this. This is obviously off somebody's TV, but I think you should still be able to see it. This is when they go tempo and they get plays like that. Easy buckets. Great pass. By the way, shout out to Aaliyah Boston on that. Great hands. But if you recognize that, the missed shot came from, that if you're looking at the screen, it was closer to us. Aaliyah Boston was the one closing out on the shooter. So as you saw, that means Aaliyah turned. As soon as she saw that the Fever were getting that rebound, she got herself all the way down the court. As a center, she was the first one down the court. Those are the plays that this Fever team needs to make. Now, another Caitlin three. Man, I hope I don't get that a silly claim on these and have to re-edit this, but hopefully you can see this. But again, one sort of pick, but then it's Caitlin. She's just going to take the shot. She's just going to create it herself. She does enough. She has enough variety that if one player is playing her, it's tough to take away the three completely because Caitlin will just then drive by you. One more from the same person, but this account does a good job in getting some clips up. Now, here we go. We're coming up. We've got this sort of suit up, and she just fires from 87,000 feet away. 87,000 feet away. I counted. And I'm going to slow it up for you just a little bit. So you can see, look, this is just her coming across. She's closer to that mid-court logo than she is to the three line. That's not even a logo at the side. That's a mid-court logo. And boom. Is this the same one? No, this is a different one. All right, really? Okay. I don't remember which one this is, so I'm gonna be surprised with you. So let's see what happens. But what I do know, sort of, I mean, that's not it. Oh yeah, I love that. But again, here's the thing: you got never fully got into a half court offense, even though they weren't running. Boston didn't set a pick, and I'm not saying she was supposed to. That was just she's there enough to give Caitlin a little space. And again, Caitlin creates. And by the way, you're seeing more too of Caitlin. Yeah, she's shooting now with her right hand, but again, she is going left. That is a really tough shot. She starts adding more. You're seeing more and more and more of this stuff in her game as the season goes along. And then this, again, remember what I said about the outside looks are because of tempo, right? Kelsey Mitchell will create her own shot, and sometimes they're tough, and sometimes I don't like them. I'm not a fan of because she's been shooting so well. I think she's starting to shoot too many contested deep twos. I'd rather see her try and get to the basket or at least step back and take that three. We don't need contested twos from a foot inside the line. But we're not getting a lot of wide open threes for Lexi or Kelsey because we're so slow with the tempo. We don't get wide open threes for them really in a half court set. And then even this play right here, down on the right, Lexi Hull, just standing there in the corner. There was no play run. This is an out of bounds play. This is, if you can see where Caitlin is throwing that from, this is just Caitlin Clark's talent and her passing accuracy on longer passes to throw that from under the other side of the basket and get this out to Lexi Hull for a wide open three. And boom. Not coming from any of this half court nonsense, getting touches in the paint and getting it back outside. And I think this is the same type of thing. Lex gets a rebound. We're going to give it to Caitlin. A little bit of push, right? Everyone's still going back. So the momentum's going back. So she just pulls up from probably only 77,000 feet at that point and pops. What else we got? Now this is, okay, now you could say, again, sort of half court maybe. But watch this. Who makes that pass other than Caitlin Clark? And now what do you get? And I'm going to give Smith a little credit here too, folks, because she recognizes this. Now you've got 5 players looking that way. And Alyssa Smith, boom, she gets out to Kelsey Mitchell. Pretty good close on the defense, but we know Kelsey has a good quick release. And boom. But there was nothing, there was no movement, there was no offensive set. It was just Caitlin Clark, again, throwing a pass that other players aren't going to throw. And then I will show you the one play that had a little bit of razzle-dazzle and movement that I did enjoy. And I have a feeling this just if it's Sides, I give her credit, but I think that might have just come from Mitchell and Clark playing together, and that was beautiful. So I'm gonna give shout out on that. That was fantastic. But there was a three by Mitchell to close to 76-70 when they were still kind of in the game, where she was wide open. It was because of tempo. And look, I get it. Teams can focus on getting back and stopping fast breaks, but also when they do that, they usually give up the chance of getting second chance points, by not crashing the offensive boards. But a good example of no fast break, but still a little more up tempo, what I would still call transition, but I couldn't find a clip of it, is that play to Boston early in the game where it wasn't a flat out fast break, but it was still not waiting to go half court set. It was still the defense is still getting back and trying to find people. And Caitlin Clark gets it ahead a little bit to Boston, who is going downhill. She's catching it near the top of the key, going to the basket and making a layup. And that is the really effective Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston, for me, is much better around the rim when she gets the ball not back to basket, but facing the rim, say on the pick and roll, or in a little bit of transition when she is going to the basket and you get her the ball near the free throw line, near the top of the key, with her going to the basket. She is a much better finisher when she does that than when she posts up traditional back to basket. Unless she's playing some really bad inside post players, she's much more effective getting it facing up with room to go to the basket than she is backing somebody down, getting the ball back to basket, and then trying to go to basket. I think she's actually a much better player in tempo, or at least a little bit of transition ball, than she is in the slow half court back to basket type of atmosphere. From which she also gets her shot blocked a lot. She gets her shot, at least it seems that way. I didn't look at the numbers, but it seems that way. Now, Christie Sides also had no adjustments in the offense all game long. All game long. I thought Alyssa Smith played a good first half. I don't think she was very effective in the second. I thought she was effective in the first. I don't know what happened after that. Lex is Lex at this point. Lexi had 9 rebounds. 9 rebounds. She had a great block in the first half. That was one of the worst calls I've ever seen by an official. They called a foul on her. Absolutely was. There was no way, and just not. It just wasn't. Also, early in the game, she had a great drive, stop, and pop. I'd love for her to show that a little bit more, because that makes things more difficult for the other team. If she can show something like that by herself in the half-court offense that the Sides is forcing them to run, that helps a lot, because that means, hey, it's not just Mitchell or Clark that's going to create something 1v1 for this team to get points out of a non-existent, but we have to do it anyway, half-court set. Man, the defense, wow, the defense does not look good. It doesn't look good at all. Too easy to get open against them, too easy to get looks for the Lynx, including wide open looks and threes. And look, I'm going to call out Clark on one for an example. The end of the first half. That three-pointer to end the half, Clark should have closed out a lot better on that, a lot quicker on that, and gotten her hand up. Even on the lackadaisical going out there, which wasn't very good, she didn't even put her hand up. That is the type of stuff that can't happen. Then between the end of that half, the beginning of the third, Lynx were on a 12-0 run. Before Sides calls a timeout, Boston got teed up. Then Clark got out of control, and I get it, she was frustrated, but she got 2 out of control. When she didn't get that 1 foul, she's lying on the court. She wasn't hurt. She was frustrated, while the Lynx are going the other way and get a 5-on-4. But to be fair, the officials were so bad they should be fined and fired. That third quarter was 29-12. This Fever team with these offensive weapons should never be held to 12 points in a quarter, but Sides managed to make sure her team was held to 12 points in a quarter. Absolutely ridiculous. By the way, shout out to Erica Wheeler, who I thought was very effective in her few minutes in the second quarter. But again, this lack of up tempo, or at least not completely half court, right? I think there's a little difference. There's fast break and there's, foot on the gas, full throttle, go, go, go. But the Fever are also pretty good just when they're moving it up court just fast enough that the other team is still not settled really into their defense, into what we call a half court defense. They're still getting back. They're still figuring out who they have. They don't really get set, and the Fever generate a decent shot before it happens. When they can do that, they play more up tempo. Again, even if it's not a true full throttle fast break, the defenses are in disarray when they move the ball the way they can and get bad matchups at times, because sometimes the other team, they don't get fully set in their half court. They're matched up against players they're not supposed to be matched up with, and the Fever have learned to play well enough together that they can exploit it, but it's not happening enough. The half court offense is in complete disarray. Complete disarray. I will say my big issue with Caitlin is I think sometimes she shuts off, I think, mentally, offensively and defensively at times. I think we saw it last game early. One of the turnovers was, as we know, Caitlin sometimes have a tendency when she goes away from the ball offensively or defensively, she loses sight of the ball. It's like she kind of gets into her own little world because she thinks that she's not supposed to be involved. There was that one against the Sparks early where she went away, and I think she felt it seemed like the play was not going to involve her. And Kelsey passed her the ball, and it just went right by her out of bounds. And look, it doesn't happen a lot, thankfully. But when they lose games like this, you notice these things more and you think, hey, we got to clean that up so we can beat the better teams more consistently. More consistently. Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to Kelsey Mitchell defensively. I think she's really picked up her defensive intensity since the break. I think she's been overall really good defensively individually. Again, that Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark sequence for the three was really nice. Of course, that was followed up the next time by a miscommunication where they got on that side and Caitlin thought Kelsey was going for the back door and Kelsey didn't move. She stayed on the wing and Caitlin just threw a bounce pass right out of bounds. But look, that really doesn't bother me because that was just a miscommunication between two of the best guards in the league. Sometimes that's going to happen when you're making those types of plays and you're doing a lot with just anticipation and knowing what the other player is thinking and going to do without something actually being called. So, look, the positives with those two playing together far outweigh the negatives at this point. So I really have no complaint at that. But if you look at this, Boston had 20. That's amazing she had 20 because it didn't seem like a great 20. I mean, she only had 5 rebounds. Lexi Hall had 9 rebounds. I mean, 3 players out-rebounded Boston. Alyssa Smith had 7 in only 23 minutes. Boston had 5 in 34. Lexi Hall had 9 rebounds. Caitlin Clark had 8 rebounds. So, yeah, she got 20, but Aaliyah wasn't. The 20 tonight wasn't like the 24 against the Sparks, right? It wasn't as effective. But Lexi Hall, yeah, she got 8, but she didn't get the looks that she gets when they're up tempo. Kelsey didn't shoot great. I mean, her and Clark both shot really well from 3, actually, but from 2 they weren't that great. They were contested, and again, they weren't running up tempo enough to get easy looks. Right, Kelsey Mitchell didn't get easy fast break layups this time. Caitlin Clark didn't get any easy looks, and again, everything she got, she created. It wasn't coming from some great half-court system where she's running off multiple high-low screens or running the baseline and catching a pass and shooting, catching and shooting because she's open. She was creating everything. And you can't have Boston, Mitchell, and Clark being the only ones scoring because you're not running any type of offense, and those are the 3 that are going to be able to get it done just by playing. It can't happen. Dantas, she only played 7 minutes. I'm not really sure why. I mean, she doesn't have a stat sheet, although she was +3 in those 7 minutes. Kelsey was okay for the minute she came in. I mean, She was 1 for 2 from 3, only played 9 minutes. And Tammy was okay, but Erica was really good in her 6 minutes. I got to give her a lot of credit for the 6 minutes that she played. But again, look, to end on a positive, I think it was good for the team's growth to lose a game this way. I think what's really important and what concerns me, which is why I showed you the stuff with Christie Sides, is will they take away the real lessons that they need to learn from this game so that they can fix them and improve them and be a better team going forward? And I worry about that based on the things Christie Sides said after the Sparks game, based on the lack of real tempo that we saw tonight. I just didn't think it was there. But I don't know. I mean, they didn't shoot poorly, right? And again, they scored 88 points, but again, 12 points in the third quarter. For anyone that was watching, they looked like they were in complete disarray. I think really the thing that kept them in it was that they shot well from 3, which was, of course, 18 of the 29 were from Clark and Mitchell. But overall, they shot well from 3. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you thought about this game in the comments below. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really is huge. We could hit 9,000 from this one if we get the likes and comments to spread the word and get some more subs to it. I really, really do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully the Fever learned something from this one. It's a step back to hopefully take 2 steps forward. And I will talk to you later.